Star Trek Discovery Season 3.
Do we have to?
We don't have to, but we're gonna, because these people insist on making it, and we insist on watching it.
I guess I did say at the end of our last episode that our audience could tune in to listen to us talk about it.
Yeah, we made a promise, didn't we?
We did.
I guess we do have to.
I guess we have to.
Oh, God. The hope is you, Kyle. The hope is you.
Okay, I'll say I think this was probably the best season of Discovery, but I don't know if my standards have just been dropped so much by Picard that I'll just accept anything, or if it is actually genuinely better than season 2.
So I'm sort of there with you, with the caveat of I genuinely believe that this is probably the best season of Discovery, but strangely enough, I find myself, despite how rocky and uneven season 1 was, I feel like that probably would still hold up the most on a rewatch.
Season 1 had more cohesion?
Season 1 was tonally all over the place in terms of its relation to Trek that it claimed to be a spiritual continuation of.
Yes, you meant when the Federation make a suitcase bomb to plant in Kronos.
Precisely. I think that despite season 2 being tonally more Trekky, it was horrifically awful in terms of its writing, and season 1 was like a shining beacon.
Oh yeah, season 2 is a mess of it. That's the biggest advantage season 3 has over it. Season 3 has a plot that you can follow.
Well, right, so this is why I bring up season 1, right? I think that it's the best season because it's not as dark as season 1, but it's much better than season 2, obviously. So it feels like it might fall somewhere in the middle, but the way its end product of overall what is the show, I think it is probably better than season 1, even if maybe the writing of season 1 was a teeny bit better.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't horribly nihilistic, which was nice.
Which was nice, yes. I enjoyed Starfleet. What is the plot of Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Kyle? What is the event? We've arrived in the 32nd century, 31st. What has happened? Okay, where are we?
So overall, it's a post-apocalypse story, basically. Would you agree with that? It's like post-apocalyptic galaxy.
I think the season started trying to have you believe that, then the season goes on and things don't necessarily feel as post-apocalyptic anymore. It feels more just fractured, but not post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, once they find the Federation, it becomes a bit less post-apocalyptic.
Yes, exactly. Because there's one critique. I don't know if you would call this nitpicky or not, because I'm not sure if I would call this nitpicky or not. They make a big deal early in the season about the scarcity of dilithium, and the spore drive as a game changer for the future, right?
Yep.
And how and they still pay lip service to the fact that the spore drive is massively beneficial to the Federation and to the universe as a whole later in the season.
Yeah.
But other ships seem to not have the problem warping around the show implied that they would at the start of the season.
No, you're right, this is not a nitpick. When they lose Discovery, I think it's like the third last episode where they get there and it's too late. And then the next episode starts with them getting to Federation headquarters within seconds. I'm thinking, what's the stakes then? The whole point was there's a shortage of dilithium and long distance travel is difficult. But you just found it.
Yes, long distance. That's why that communications station from the first or second episode was like it's got a couple of Federation ships in range, but we haven't had communication for a long time either. Because why couldn't they do subspace comms?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think there was a reason, though. I'm not gonna. If there wasn't a reason, then that is stupid. But I do believe they done some reason why they can't do long subspace comms.
Maybe the burn disrupted subspace or whatever.
Yes, something. So they can't go long distances. Like Book was stuck in this region doing his job as a courier, and limited space flight was just a fact of life because they didn't have enough fuel, essentially. Mm-hmm. But later in the season, nothing has actually changed about the universe except information has been gained. But the fact is, dilithium is still scarce. But ships and fleets just warp around.
Yep.
whilst at the same time they still pay lip service to the fact that the Spore Drive is a game changer.
Yeah.
And okay. And thank you for saying it's not nitpicky.
No,
I
like,
wasn't
see
sure.
when that the Navarran fleet shows up at the end, like 16,000 ships. I'm just thinking, how can you afford to do this?
Why did the Federation fracture if you could warp your fleets around like you always used to be able to do?
And not only that, they start chasing down Osiris' ship in warp. They show shots of it, and they're all following behind.
I thought that was just other Emerald Chain ships.
No, there was only one Emerald Chain ship there.
I thought there was a group of smaller ones, okay.
No, those were Federation ships following it. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure the Federation fleet never left the Federation HQ. I think it might have... If indeed it wasn't other Emerald Chain ships, I think it was other...
Navarran ships.
The Navarre. Yeah, Navarre ships. What do you think of Navarre, Kyle?
I don't mind it. It's fine.
I don't mind it either. I think it's interesting. Vulcans and Romulans still exist, but now are they Navarrians?
I think they do call them Navarrans, yeah.
Navarrans?
They had like the 3 ambassadors, one for Vulcans, one for Romulans, and one for Romulo-Vulcans.
that wasn't a high point of the show, I'll admit. I didn't, because it was like a drumheady type episode, or like a, your Star Trek classic of a courtroom drama.
Yes.
I think that's what they thought they were making there.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's despite on paper it must look like that, it wasn't at all executed like that. So I don't actually know
the dumbest reveal in the whole season was when her mum beams up and she's a Vulcan nun now. Sorry, a Romulan nun now. That came out of nowhere and was pointless.
That was because people would go, "Oh, it's the thing from Star Trek Picard, Kyle," and my first thought was, "What?" And then you told me it was the thing from Picard, and suddenly it clicked into place. I was like, oh, that's what they thought they were doing there.
Please, friend,
they
choose
thought
to
this
live.
was a moment. Oh, God. It's just, I'm looking through the episode synopsises here, Kyle, and it's... here's a thing this show done.
Mm-hmm.
It done a third part to the TNG classic Unification.
It was called Unification 3.
Yes. That's exact. Yes. Do you think this show is doing that because it genuinely thinks it has a story to tell, or do you think it's doing that to try and flap its feathers to feel important?
Both. I think it can be both. I mean, Vulcan has always been an important part of this show for reasons that are beyond me. Ever since the beginning, the idea of having Michael Burnham be the adopted brother of Spock has always been dumb and weird.
Adopted sister.
Yeah, whatever. It's weird, and I don't know why they did it, but it's always been a thing in the show, and Vulcan's always been a part of it. So
I should say at this point in the show, it's completely irrelevant. So there was no point in doing it. It was like they done it at the start as a means to an end to exploit audience familiarity.
Well, they did. The reason they went there was because the Navarrans thought they caused the burn for some reason. But it turns out they didn't, because in 80 years since the burn happened, nobody thought to triangulate the black boxes of the destroyed ships.
No, but that's the thing, Kyle. Everyone in the Starfleet is inept except Michael Burnham.
Except Michael Burnham, because she does things differently.
There was a brief period in the mid to late 23rd century through to late 24th, early 25th century where there were competent people. And we know them because we watched their shows. And in the mid 22nd century, there was some people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them got involved in a Temple Cold War, which this show never played into, and I really was surprised.
Mm-hmm. They play lip service to it.
But now this show, this universe is there was a crew, a special ship at that point, and it disappeared for 1,000 years because it jumped 1,000 years into the future. And now they're back and everything will be fine again.
There's so many things about that, which I don't think the writers realise how long a period of time 900 years is. Like, 900 years ago from today, we were still fighting with swords and shields. The crew of Discovery should be so out of date and so incapable of even understanding technology. Like Stamets.
Maybe they're going with...
Stamets is a high-level engineer and scientist in the 22nd century. He should have no clue how anything works anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean, apparently they spent a couple of months refitting the ship. They had the gall to give it an A. It didn't earn an A. Like, even... in the motion picture, in Star Trek the motion picture, the Enterprise gets completely reworked. They make a big deal about how Kirk would not know his own way around this ship anymore because it is a different ship, essentially. They never even gave it an A because it was still the same ship.
Yeah.
And then they give this ship an A just because I think they want to fool the audience into thinking progression is occurring. There's no progression occurring here. Yeah, and you're completely right. The crew are completely inadequate. I'm assuming in that refit period, they mentioned something about a period of training. They retrained them. And so I was a little bit more lenient on this, Kyle, than I think you are, because...
I'm lenient that the crew could learn how to operate it, because it does, they make a point of saying how the interface adapts to you, and I think they show the pilot, her interface changes into like an old joystick, right? So I can see how it could be easy for the crew to learn that, but in terms of science and medical and things like that, it's just a whole different ballgame there.
Well, I think they were going with the scientific theory of... I can't remember what it's called. There's the thought, and they say Star Wars is at this level in its universe where technology kind of caps at a certain rate and things can't change that much. It's just constant different variations on things.
Okay, but we can see that that's not true, though, in this universe. There's technology way advanced, even from what we've seen in other Star Trek shows.
Well, I think things are more, like, between the 20s, in this show, I mean, things that seem more similar in the 22nd to 31st century than things would be between the 21st and the 9th century.
Yes.
You know, I think the basics are there, and I think that, like, yes, medicine will have improved, or scientific understanding will have improved, but depending on how much they got right in the 22nd century, some stuff might have not changed that much.
I suppose. There's things I like about how they use the future. Like, they show, they only show it once, and I think it was in the last episode, where Michael Burnham has a phaser, and then she kind of dissolves it into a little wristband, and I thought, hey, that's cool. I like that. I like how they use nanotechnology in the show. I don't know. It looks cool.
Did you like the bit in the season finale where they use nanotechnology to crush Michael Burnham into the hull of the ship? and all I could think of was part of the crew, part of the ship.
Part of the ship, part of the crew.
That's all I could think of. I was like, this is really Davy Jones here. The ship consumes you. You can't leave Discovery.
Okay, the last episode is a nightmare. We'll get to the last episodes. It's amazing. We'll get there though.
Let's talk about something I think we both like though.
Okay.
The second to last episode. Even the third to last episode.
Yeah, the last two episodes were good.
Before the final.
Before the finale, when everything crashed like a train. There is other things I liked about the show. I like that they pruned some of the pointless cast. Like, they got rid of Mrs. Yum Yum pretty early on because she's a completely pointless character, and someone realized that she was completely pointless, so they just wrote her off.
No, Kyle. They got her out because she's got to be in her own show.
Are you serious?
The Section 31 show, it's still happening.
No, that's why they got rid of Giorgio. Special Agent Yum Yum, the Benzite lady.
I thought you were talking about Giorgio.
No, the Benzite security lady who joined from Enterprise.
Oh, the Benzite. Oh, I forgot she existed. I thought you were talking about Giorgio. Sorry, right, okay.
Of course you forgot she existed. She's pointless, and that's why they got rid of her, and I'm happy they did that.
Oh, she stayed on the seed ship, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she was completely pointless, and they realised that. That was good.
Did you even remember that she was in all of Season 2?
I remember in Season 2, but I completely forgot. There was no point of her staying on Discovery, quite frankly. She should have went back on... Well, I think I know why they didn't want her on Enterprise, because they didn't know what to do with her in Enterprise for, like, where is she in the time of Kirk and all that, and it's like, you could kill her off in Strange New World.
She could just retire. No one in Star Trek ever retires anymore. No one lives a happy life.
Kirk got to do it. Even then, they brought him out of retirement.
They brought him out of retirement to die under a bridge.
No, yeah, I agree. It's a sin, really. It's quite sad. What do you think of the aesthetic of this new century?
There's parts of it I like and parts of it I dislike. I like the technology, I like how it looks, I like how sleek it is. I really like how the Federation headquarters looks. It looks very sort of 50s pop sci-fi, and I love it. But
okay.
I don't like the uniforms of the new Federation. I think they look weird. I don't like grey. I don't like the light grey.
Right, so we've spoke about the uniforms in private before we recorded. I don't mind the uniforms as like a dress uniform for formal occasion. Dignitary comes on board the ship, something like that. However, it was bugging me, Kel. I never said it to you because I couldn't quite it was on the tip of my tongue and I couldn't quite register what it was that was familiar. Have you heard of an old British game show called The Krypton Factor?
I haven't.
Right, okay. So there's this it's like an assault course game show like Total Wipeout or something. Or The Crystal Maze. Have you heard of The Crystal Maze?
I've heard of The Crystal Maze. I haven't watched it much.
Right, okay. Well, all the contestants wear grey jumpsuits.
Okay.
There's like 5 contestants or something, and then there's a host. But each jumpsuit has one specific coloured stripe going down it, offset from the centre on one side and every person's a red one, a blue one, a yellow one, an orange one or something. I'll send you a photo. We can cut down the editing time, so I'll let you Google it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yes.
I can't unsee that now.
You can't unsee that now, can you? They are contestants on a game show in the UK.
Yeah, I'll say the way I thought of them, especially the ones in the end when they're on the bridge, they look like the uniforms that the enforcers of a dystopian movie, like they look like the uniforms that they would wear in The Hunger Games or Divergent or one of those movies, like the uniforms that the dystopian government would wear. I don't know. They look. There's something sinister about them, and I think it's just that grey color. That grey color doesn't look like a happy, nice color.
I think for some reason I think Admiral Vance got a pass because it looked all behind the desk kind of uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of Admirals always kind of are permanently dressed in a dress uniform. I think that's why I didn't mind it. But even his staff, for some reason, it never twigged watching it that this would be horrible on the Discovery crew. But the whole time I wanted the Discovery crew to wear them because I thought there's no reason they should get special exemptions. And now they've got the uniforms, which I'm happy about for the sake of unity across the brand. Now they just look awful.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I feel like I can't make that criticism, Kel, because I think if I make that criticism, people just go, oh my god, there's no pleasing you, is there? You want them to get the uniforms, now they get the uniforms, and they're going to criticise the uniforms. It's like, okay, that's technically true, right? But the uniforms are bad, and for some reason it didn't click looking at the 31st century Starfleet. I'm looking at a picture right now of Admiral Vance, who was the dude from the Mummy movies, by the way. Anyway, yes, I'm looking at a picture of him now wearing the uniform, and I think that looks great. Because the Admiral uniform is a bit different; it doesn't have a big stripe going down it. It's got partings on it, and it's like the top bit around the neck with a bit of colouring and some rim bits. But it's horrific. I wonder if in season 4 they're going to get another uniform again.
I wouldn't be surprised. The thing about them, too, I'll say, is they don't look very action and dynamic, which would be a problem for Discovery. Like the way they look, like you say, they look like dress shirts.
I wonder if, because you know what else I've just found? I wonder if they're inspired by the motion picture uniforms.
That would be a choice.
Because I'm looking at a cast photo of the motion picture and they're all in their uniforms, right? But not necessarily like the Sulu, the Uhura, ugly beige colour. More so Admiral Kirk's.
Yeah, I'm picturing it now in my head and I can see where you're coming from.
The big white centerpiece with the grey lower half and the grey arms.
Not his dentist shirt.
Not his dentist shirt. No. He's his Starfleet Command uniform
Yeah.
where he's walking about and going up escalators and stuff.
That would be a weird inspiration to draw from.
I know. Yeah, no, so I'm looking at a picture of Sneeko Martin Green when she's sitting on the bridge, right? And I clicked on the image, and the title that's come up under it is Star Trek Discovery finishes season 3 with a mediocre final.
It sure does.
There's little things on the shoulders where the kind of the arm piece meets the torso piece. They almost look like clips, but I don't think they are clips. I don't know if they're supposed to dignify rank or something, though I think the thing over the neck is supposed to do that. I don't know. It's strange. It's really strange.
It's weird looking.
It is weird. I don't like it, but I don't quite know what about it. I know the shoes look horrific. Like, they look practical, which is fine, but the uniform doesn't match it in attitude, if you get me.
Yeah. I also noticed that they have separate colours for science and medical.
Yeah, I think that's something that Discovery's been hell bent on trying to achieve. Even the JJ Abrams films tried to do that.
I kind of get it. Science and medicine are not really, like, a doctor and a science officer are not really the same. I can see why they would want to make that separation, but it's very internally inconsistent.
It is. Did you see one thing that apparently they've had to do in post-production because they're maybe not too sure about what they want to do with this character?
I saw something posted that they changed Tilly's colour in post.
Yes, so Tilly shot in red for Command Red, but in post they changed it to Sign's kind of bluey green because I think I think Trek Corp speculated that they're not too sure what they want to do with her character in season 4, or they weren't at the time of filming it, or in post-production rather. Because they're like, wait, what if we don't want her to be first officer anymore? Because this show has to keep us guessing about the bloody command chain on this ship.
She's still in the command corps though, right? Even before. She wasn't a science officer.
Oh no, because she wanted to join the command training program in season 2, and Saru had to help her through all that.
So she would still be wearing red even if she wasn't first officer.
Yes, but she's a scientist.
Sorry, I'm assuming this show cares. Never mind.
Well, I mean, it must care in some sense to go into post-production and change it. Like, there must be... There was a reason for doing that. And then the argument would be, well, Spock, he was first officer, but he didn't wear command red. And I think that's the 23rd century, like, or to Paul in the 22nd century, she didn't do that. So, yeah, but that was a TOS throwback, and that was the 60s. We've moved on a bit. We had consistent TNG Deep Space Nine Voyager, where there was a clear first officer wears red thing going on.
You need someone there to ask questions.
You need someone there to be exposition, well, this show doesn't care about asking questions.
No, that's true.
But I wonder what they're going to do with her, because there was a thing on Twitter where they're like, no, they fixed it before the episode aired, and the only shot of her wearing red was in like a behind the scenes thing. And I was like, no. When I watched on Netflix, there was a definite shot of them all lined up where she was in red she was in red, and then people were like, no, you're wrong. It's like, no, I know she's in red, and I haven't gone back to look yet, but I'm sure that there are some shots in the same episode, in the same section, where it's like a movie mistake. It's not like deliberate. I believe it was an accident.
I honestly have to say I didn't notice what colour she was wearing at the time until it came up.
She's wearing green in the full body shot, and then there's like a line-up shot of the entire crew on either side of Captain Burnham, and she's wearing red because she's at the very back and she's kind of out the way, but you can see her. She's definitely in red. I was also shocked how many people in that crew were yellow, by the way.
Yeah, all the bridge crew were wearing yellow, and I thought, that's weird. Aren't they all command red on the bridge? Whatever. They've changed what the colours mean again.
It's whatever. Like, so let's ask you this: what do you think of Captain Burnham?
I for 3 seasons now, I've never been sure how I feel about Burnham. Like,
right?
She's such an inconsistent character, I find, that it's hard to form a lasting opinion. And I can never tell if Sneeko Martin Green, who plays her, is a good actor or not. Because sometimes it's like she's really nailing the scene, and other times, whenever it gets really emotional, it's like, this isn't working for me at all. But I can never tell if that's the script or if that's her. I think it's the script.
I think it's the script. Sneeko Martin Green's quite talented, and I think she tries her darndest. However, being a good actor and knowing what a good script is, I think, are different things, because I actually think that she really enjoys her time on Star Trek Discovery, which is nice. There's no point working in a bad work environment from a outside of the show, practical mental health side of things. Her having a blast on this show is very important, and that's good. But I sort of also wish that maybe she understood the material a bit more to know that this was just schlock.
It's not all schlock. Specifically, I said on Twitter that the last episode became schlock. I came to that point when it was the elevator scene, the famous turbo lift scene, where...
Sequence.
It was when Book kicks off the old guy and he falls and he hits another lift on the way down. It's like, this is schlock. This is Michael Bay tier action schlock.
Do you remember when Darth Maul got cut in half and he was falling down that big tube and he banged off the wall as well? That's the first thing I thought of. It's like, remember when Darth Maul got cut in half and he banged off the walls on his way down? Yeah, it was unfortunate. I kind of knew it was coming though. We spoke about it before the season aired. They've done this Navarre distress call. That's the season final. They've got to have this bang, you know. They've got to have this wow factor. And to be fair, I don't think it was as ridiculous as the end of season 2, where there was 1,000 million ships.
No, it got close, but it wasn't quite as bad as that.
Again, I know we've already spoke about season 2, but I don't think this show will ever get worse than season 2. Pike is seriously the only good thing about that season. Anyway, I felt like they were trying to restrain themselves until that turbo lift sequence.
No, they had Discovery flying around inside Starfleet Command with all of the ships firing at it, and I was just realistically, in a genuine situation, Discovery should be blown up within 2 seconds in there, with every single Starfleet ship firing at it. Are you kidding?
And the starbase.
There's no way in hell Discovery should have survived that.
Yeah, so here's actually a problem I had with that sequence. The writing had such discontinuity between the scenes in that same massive sequence.
Yes.
Because they spoke about how this starbase, this powerful space station and its fleet somehow could only last a few more minutes against Discovery because I think the chain ship was shooting outside and they could only last a few more minutes before the shields went down and then they were all going to...
No, they say, okay, they have their main shield generator disguised as something else, but Osira knows that it's disguised as something else, so she's shooting at the disguise and they're like... She knows our secret that our shield generator is disguised and she's going to blow up in a few minutes. I don't know if that was the big ship or if that was Discovery. I assume it's Discovery, because why would you have the shield generator outside of the shield? This isn't Star Wars.
Yeah, no, I know, right? So, anyway, that was their script reasoning for, oh my god, the good guys are in trouble. The bad guys have got them on the back foot, despite the fact that it made no sense, right? Mm-hmm. And then, when you go to the inside of the ship, when you're on Discovery, everything's falling apart in there as well, and they're like, we're getting torn to shreds here, you know, we can't last much longer in this, you know, mm-hmm. and they divert auxiliary power to shields and stuff, right? And it's like, so now the audience is supposed to believe that both sides of this fight are on the back foot, because in one instance we're supposed to empathise with Admiral Vance and his team just for those instances we're on the space station. The second we leave the space station, we're not supposed to care about them anymore. And then we're on Discovery's bridge and they're in the back foot and the crew are down below deck and the whole ship might get blown up, and oh no, we don't want that to happen because we've got to go to the Nebula to save Saru and the team, right? So both instances they're wanting to make you feel like Discovery's in the back foot, and at the same time they want you to think that Starfleet are on the back foot, but simultaneously, and they can't both be true. No. One's got to be the dominating power, and you would think it would be the Starfleet team, but no, because somehow they can't hold their own against one starship.
Yeah.
And even if they did find the shield generator of the starbase, there's a no fleet of Starfleet ships out there with their own shield generators that would be fine.
Yeah, the new Voyager's out there. It's taking the lead on the charge against Discovery.
They kept fucking mentioning the Voyager, right? And I was like they did it maybe 3... I say they kept doing it. They mentioned it maybe 3 times. But at one point they were like, tell Voyager to pursue or something, right? Or they said it once and once was fine, but then at one point I think Michael Burnham mentions Voyager, or someone mentions Voyager. And I was like, wouldn't you not just say tell the Federation fleet to fall in? You know, that's nitpicky. I don't think that is a serious criticism that I'm making.
It's a thing, you know, Nathan. It's Voyager. You remember Star Trek Voyager?
Yeah, I feel like that's the only reason they kept saying it, just because it was thing, you know. Like, if it was another ship, the USS Crazy Horse or something, they wouldn't have said tell the Crazy Horse to follow. And again, this is nitpicky, but I've got, you know, skeptical reasons for it. It's like, you know, they just kept saying Voyager because it was thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not Captain Janeway and Tuvok on that ship. Don't silly yourself. It looks like the Voyager that we know and love, but there's no one there.
We're not at the finale yet. I've got other stuff to talk about before the finale. I'm going to talk about... Do I want to talk about Adira? I don't know. Let's talk about Adira.
What is there to say? There's not a character in there.
No, I don't know why he's there. Grey, ghost boyfriend. It's so bizarre.
Deep Space Nine has done the precedent for sometimes, but during very specific events, previous hosts can show up in whether it be a ghost form or they can take the manifestation of a willing.
There's a couple very good episodes. There's the one where Dax, Jadzia, has her like ceremony to meet her past lives, and then Curzon takes over Odo, and he's like, "I just want to stay."
That's fun. And then there's the one with the murderer with Ezri, and she has to call in the non-corporeal manifestation of what is Tarius Dax?
I can't remember.
The murderer.
The crazy murderer Dax, yeah.
Yes, So, and nobody can see him except the audience and Ezri. So that's fine. I really don't have a problem with a non-corporeal previous host hanging around.
But the way they're doing it is so bizarre.
The show must come up with a compelling reason for it, and the show didn't. The show, I think, just realised, oh, well, they've done it before, but the context around why they done it before didn't seem to matter. And then, at some point in the show, Grey can then be seen because the holodeck technology seems to be able to reach this non-corporeal manifestation. Which to me seems like
it bothered me so much, because if it recognises him, it should recognise all of the previous hosts, right? It's all or nothing.
No, because No, I don't think that's necessarily true, because they're not always all there. Like when Ezri summoned Killer Dax to help hunt down a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's just like it's a mental print. I don't actually think that person's real. They're
not. They're just the memories of that person stored in a symbiote in their belly.
But in this case, no, there's a real science thing going on here. And technology can register this ghost.
Yes.
And Grey is a Trill who died. Adira is his partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but not a Trill. But again, TNG done that where Riker took a Trill symbiote for a while. I happen to think that that's just a lot of mess. I think they should have stayed away from it. Adira should have just been a Trill, and we should have just made it simpler. I think being a human that took on the symbiote is just it's too much.
Well,
it's just too complicated.
They have this whole thing about how the Trill can't take the symbiote anymore, and how other races may be the future of the Trill species. And it's, what the fuck is all this? Why are you doing it?
Yeah. They should. You need to cut all this shit out because it's not thick and character driven. It's just a haze of nonsense to make people think that this is deep and rich. It's just make Adira a Trill, make it nice and simple, and just like we can get on with the show, you know. But then yes, Grey somehow being recognised by technology made absolutely no sense, and then Stamets and Culber are like, we can see you. Well, Stamets wasn't there, but Culber's like, we can see you, we recognise you. Then Grey's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to miss this, what I've been missing. Listen, you're dead. You're a memory. You shouldn't be doing this. What is this?
What's so bizarre to me about this as well? So that episode where they go to Trill, and Adira has this spiritual journey where they learn to accept the symbiote, and more importantly, the episode, they learn to accept Grey's death, basically. They have a whole sequence about it. Yeah, and then, after that, Grey's just around all the time. It's so pointless.
Well, see, at first that's why I was okay with it. for like, okay, this is a traumatic experience and you're not quite, like, you're a human who shouldn't be using this symbiote. There's some trauma here. You're holding on to this previous memory that you don't quite know why you know everything about your ex-partner. It's because of the symbiote, but obviously you're never been trained to expect this because you're not a Trill, you're a human.
Yes, and also, even within Trills,
Then
I'm assuming this is kind of a weird situation where you're...
Yes, but at least that's why they're supposed to be given a lifetime of prep. Like, this feels like another Ezri Dak situation where an unprepared person, though at least they were a Trill, was kind of thrown this through this loop of their life. So I got why Grey was maybe around for a while. And then they do the sequence, and then you see the Admiral who had it before Grey.
Yes.
And you see all the previous hosts. Mm-hmm. And then they all welcome Adira
into the circle.
Into the circle, which felt weird, but I guess some Trills must do that. Like, I know we never saw Dax's people do that, but I believe it. So that's fine. But then that should have been a moment of acceptance and knowing what's happening.
Right.
And Grey will always be a part of me. And Grey can now disappear into the circle.
Right.
No. I hate to sound so cynical, Kyle, but I think it was because they wanted the diversity play.
The weird thing, if any show doesn't need the diversity play, it's Discovery. Discovery has plenty of diversity already.
I agree, but there's no such thing as enough in some people's eyes. But I don't think this had to be a problem.
No, they could have just had Grey, the actor, be a character in the show.
Yes, but no, they had to do, like, this didn't have to be a problem. They could have had everyone in the show and it would have been fine, and it could be diverse and fantastic, but they had to overcomplicate it with the host that just wouldn't, the ex-host that wouldn't just disappear, and Adira is going through this loop, which isn't that actor's fault, and it isn't that character's fault either. It's the writing.
Yes.
It's like, why making it so complicated? Just have...
I mean, they're setting up so next season they can make Grey real again. Culber promises him, it's like, we'll find a way to make you real. We'll make you a real boy like Pinocchio.
Death just doesn't matter here.
No, it never has, to be fair. It never has in Discovery. Culber came back from Dead to Dead. This is already a thing that happened.
Prime Giorgio has stayed dead thus far. I'm not going to give it no points.
You know, in the Section 31 show, they're going to have real Giorgio versus evil Giorgio at some point. We can't resist.
Well, I like Prime Giorgio, what we got of her. She should have just stayed alive. But, no, yeah, it's like, we'll find a way to bring you back. But this person died. This is just the memories of this person. What are you talking about? But people will defend this. Kyle, why do people defend this?
I don't know.
It's because, I tell you why, Kyle, it's because of weird bullshit ship culture. People think it sounds pretty and beautiful, and oh, wouldn't it be nice? But it flies in the face of the world.
It's just...
I'm going off in one, and I apologise.
No, I get it.
Fries my brain.
Because, to be honest, the episode where they go to Trill, I didn't mind it. I liked all the stuff with Adira and going there. I don't think Michael Burnham should have joined in that vision. I thought that was dumb. But other than that, I thought it was a nice episode about moving on and accepting responsibility and all this. And then they just trample all over it by having Grey just keep showing up and trying to make him a character still. And I don't understand it.
There was a point where Adira had a problem because Grey wasn't there anymore.
Yes.
They were having a trouble with it. But I think that... And that's fine. It's like, well, my ex-boyfriend was here and now he's not, and I don't quite... Like, that, they can still be grappling with it, you know?
Sure.
With this new reality. Even though... But then Grey just comes back anyway.
And he has all these issues, like, I want to touch the real world. I want to interact with people, and and that's when I realised, they're doing a thing with this character now. Or they're trying. He's not just a ghost anymore. He wants to be a person.
They could have, if they wanted Grey to be the Trill that the character is, they should have just not killed them, not give Adira the symbiote, and everything would have been fine. But no, they've got to make things seem rich and fleshed out and deep, but they confuse it with just nonsense.
Yeah.
They confuse utter nonsense and say, well, this is just such a deep, you know. No, it's not. You're passing off schlock as deep, you know, deep, rich world building.
There's also how Culber and Stamets adopt Dira almost instantly, which is fine.
Dira like a young adult though.
They're like 16, I think they said at the start.
So now they've got a little family. They've adopted someone. So are they now dads? I just thought they were just going to be like friends.
No, when Stamets is talking to the science guy in the chair, he says, "Oh, I've got a child and a husband."
Does that mean Adira seems strangely grown up though? Like, does that mean they were a child soldier at the start when they worked for the Earth Defense Forces?
Yes, it actually does.
What? Why couldn't Adira just be a grown up or like in their 20s or something? Why? Is this because they want to do some sort of commentary on gay adoption?
The way they're basically a new. Why can't I remember his name? Wesley. They're basically a new Wesley, right? They're the child genius. That's what they're going for. That's the impression I kept getting.
But they seemed so independent. Why adopt them?
I don't know. I don't know.
I tell you what I think, Kyle. It's because I think they want to do some gay adoption story, even though in the 31st century, it's not a problem. Do a time travel story where they go back to the 1930s and do that. But no, they can't, Kyle, because they can't do one-off episodes anymore. They've got to do season-long arcs.
We're shitting on. I don't mind Adira as a character. Actually, I think they're fine.
Neither do I. I think they are wonderful, or have the potential to be wonderful, even if right now they're fine. I actually don't dislike Adira at all.
No, they seem like a Star Trek character.
Yes, I like Adira. I just think they are messed up in this weird way that is completely avoidable and isn't at all compelling. It's just confusing and annoying.
Yeah, that's Discovery.
That's Discovery.
You want to talk about weird, confusing, and annoying? Let's move on to Giorgio.
Let's move on to Giorgio.
So throughout the season, Giorgio is being disconnected from reality. She has a weird conversation with David Cronenberg.
Why is he in this show?
He's the old man with glasses.
No, I didn't say who is he. I said why is he?
Because
David Cronenberg wanted to be in Star Trek.
That's it. That's the reason. David Cronenberg wanted to be in Star Trek.
Remember when Daniel Craig wanted to be in Star Wars and they just made him a stormtrooper?
Yeah.
They could have just made
Traitor.
They could have just made David Cronenberg a Starfleet officer in the background.
The first scene where he's talking to Giorgio, I think, is a fun scene, actually. Other than when he says, actually, Terrans are biologically more evil. And I'm thinking, oh, dear, don't go there, Star Trek. Don't say some races are more biologically prone to evilness. No.
Yeah, it's spicy, isn't it?
It's not even true, because the Terran Empire was dissolved. It's not a permanent addition.
It was overthrown, and then the other species suppressed humanity. It's such like everyone in the Mirror Universe is evil, because the Mirror Universe is just supposed to be a fun universe where everyone's bad and it's just fun.
Yeah, you don't have to make it. You don't have to make it weird.
Yeah, you don't have to make it weird. Like, again, this is like. But I think that to go back to Adira very briefly, I think that, you know, an unsuspecting person becoming a Trill host and being confused like Ezri, that's a Deep Space Nine thing, right? And I think they know that. You know, they know that. But then they do a Mirror Universe thing where, oh no, the Terran Empire is evil because Terrans are inherently more evil. But then they forget in Deep Space Nine, which they've already referenced with Adira and their Trill situation, that
well, they don't forget it. They do reference that the Terran Empire was overthrown, and they mention how Spock did it, and
though that was like the dissolution of it. Though, it's like I think they were over, like, Spock made so many reforms to it that then the evil people rised up, and there was nothing the Empire could do to stop it.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but thingy, evil. Why can't I remember anyone's names?
Evil Kira.
Evil Kira was great.
And
also gay for herself. Yes.
Yeah, no, that was quite fun. But that just flies in the face of them saying that humans are inherently more evil, when in that show, or when in that Mirror Universe at that time in Deep Space Nine, some of those humans aren't necessarily nice, like Sisko at one point, or even Bashir, but like everyone's evil together.
Yeah, it's just this culture they've been raised in.
Yeah, like Klingons are extra evil, Bajorans are extra evil, Cardassians are extra evil. You know, but everyone's having fun with it. But there isn't a biological reason why humans are more evil when we know that's not true because of what's about to happen, or by, should I say, Star Trek Discovery Season 3's time, has already happened.
I mean, remember in Season 1 when they were said the Terrans are less... They have, like, a less light tolerance?
Yes.
You remember this?
I remember that.
And it's not a thing anymore. It's never been a problem for evil Georgiou.
It's never... Remember when they transported from a transport room down to a vastly snowy landscape where it should be bright as all hell?
Yeah.
Was she wearing sunglasses though?
No.
No.
Remember they have the scene where evil Lorca has to put the contacts in because his eyes can't adjust to the light. That's never been a thing again. I don't know why they made it a thing in the first season.
Remember later, because then when you watch it and rewatch, you go, "Oh, there was all these signs, Kyle. They were spelling it out for us. That's Kyle. That's writing. They were spelling it out for us." It didn't matter though. It completely didn't matter after the reveal had been done. They were like, okay, we're moving on to a new story. Or even in the season where they go back in time in the Mirror Universe to Emperor Giorgio when they're christening the Karen, and she's standing in front of the sun, and there's an audience looking right through her into the sun, and they don't mind.
Yeah, it's... Let's get back to David Cronenberg for a second. I like that scene, but the idea of 900 years in the future when he's explaining that the Terran Empire or the Terran universe has drifted away from this timeline, so it's less apart or whatever.
Yeah.
Why would this guy be obsessed with the Mirror Universe when it's 900 years out of date?
No, I don't think...
Doesn't he have better things to do?
I think that's not what's happening. So if you think of the Mirror Universe and the Prime Universe are on a train throughout the cosmic planes, right? And they're both together, they're both parallel. But slowly over time, I don't know when this division began, I actually think the show did mention it though. These two universes that are really close together, so in theory you could hop between the two, as we saw in TOS and Discovery and Deep Space Nine. And I guess Enterprise kind of dabbled in it as well, but that was a reference to TOS. Over time, slowly, this little gap that you could pop over has been slowly widening, and both universes have still been going forward. The Mirror Universe didn't necessarily stall in this 26th century.
I think it's, like, at some point, different people would be born and things like that.
Yeah, like, the gap's been gradually getting wider. You no longer can hop between the two. You would need to go back in time and then hop across, you know? You couldn't hop across from the 31st century. You would need to go back to the 22nd, hop across, and then go forward in time in that Mirror Universe. It's a very big horseshoe thing they're trying to get going here. You need to go down to go back up again.
Beyond all of this, I hate Georgiou. Like, evil Georgiou. I've always hated her. I've never known what she was doing on the show. She spits in the face of all of Star Trek stuff.
She was the character who didn't wear a Starfleet uniform like Neelix. That's who she was.
She's the character who, when the show wants to do violence and justify it, they'll make her do it.
And then they'll have like fans on Twitter saying, "Yes, Queen Slay."
Yeah, like remember in episode 2 or episode 2 or 3 when they go to Earth and they have to get negotiations going, and she just kicks the guy in the balls and takes his helmet off.
Yeah.
There was no reason that they needed to do that. They could have just...
Do you remember in the first episode they reference how she chopped Leland up and stamped him into the ground with her boots?
I did. And she walks out and she's making like squelchy noises on the ground.
Yep. Yep. And everyone's supposed to go, yeah, fucking justified. Everyone's supposed to be like, that's so cool.
And it's the way the crew treats her too. Like, we've learned so much from you, evil Emperor Georgiou.
Yes, It's like we love you. We love you. It's Saru and Michael should be standing there being like, we spent 7 years with a woman who's much better than you.
Yeah.
We spent 7 years on a starship with someone who was like a mother figure to us all and who respected the Prime Directive and who respected other people. I think they're...
Well, she didn't. She took Saru off of a non, like, star...
Oh yeah, well, fair. Okay, sorry, I forgot that happened. Yeah, she's awful. She also supported the killing of Tuvix. It's mental.
Anyway, that episode is when it goes to the Mirror Universe. There was no reason for that to be a two-parter. No reason at all. It could have been one episode. I don't know why they stretched it out for so long.
They wanted to spend more time in the Mirror Universe.
They already spent 4 episodes in the Mirror Universe in season 1.
You know what? I didn't hate it. I like spending time in the Mirror Universe, Kyle. I can't necessarily give you a long explanation. Because Mirror Universe is just supposed to be fun. I don't think it's specifically supposed to be deep about anything about fascism or that. It's just supposed to be a romp, you know? And, I mean, it's just... I just enjoyed it, and I think they also really enjoyed that week between part 1 and part 2 where they could blue balls you with the thought of maybe Jason Isaacs coming back as Prime Lorca really briefly. Or even Mirror Lorca. Because here's the thing, if time has now changed because of what she'd done in there, unless it was just all a dream, but apparently it wasn't because her vitals had timed up on the wrist piece that she had.
Mm-hmm.
She never chased Lorca with the car and through that nebula for him to come to the Prime Universe.
Oh god.
Also,
I think the implication was that was a different Mirror Universe.
I thought it was supposed to be the exact one because they make a point of how, like, the reason she's freaking out and their molecules are coming apart is because they belong in a precise time and in a precise universe. You can universe jump if you like, but when you have universe jump, you cannot then time travel because that's too much.
It's weird. I don't understand it. To be honest, I think it sounds like nonsense.
Yeah, because when she then goes back to when she walks through the gate and the door and goes to the Mirror Universe, she isn't in the moment she left in the throne room where Michael Burnham took her back onto Discovery at the Cairn, and she's like, "What have you done to me?"
Yeah, she
goes back before the christening of the Cairn. Yeah, which makes no sense because that is also out of time. Might be a lot, might be significantly closer, but it's still months out of time.
Okay. Based on string theory, I don't know if it's string theory. One of those theories. There's infinite parallel universes, right?
We've Star Trek TNG done it in Parallels, the Worf episode.
Yeah, so I think this was just a different parallel universe. It was basically. It may have even been one created in that very moment that she went through the door.
I don't think those episodes done anything to signify that.
I mean, different things happen, right? Stamets tries to kill her, which he didn't do in the original because
he has to be on.
He was still there.
Yeah, he survived. Exactly. That's also a good point.
That bothered me too. Like, how did she know that Stamets was going to kill her if he didn't try and kill her in the original timeline?
Yeah, in the original timeline, he didn't do anything because he survived. Oh, you're right. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I don't think the show actually done anything to try and make you think that. Like, the show just changes historical events in that universe and just doesn't explain why it's allowed to do it.
I'm glad she's gone from the show, but I know they're still doing the Section 31 show, and it's just going to be her and Ash Tyler. And aren't you excited for Ash Tyler to come back?
I'm excited for Vok.
Everyone's favourite character.
I'm really excited to see more Vok.
More Vok.
Because then they'll also bring back Mary Chieffo, who's the mother of all Klingons.
L'Oreal.
Yeah, L'Oreal. Yeah, L'Oreal Paris. Oh, exactly. Sorry. No, yeah, it's Kyle. Star Trek Discovery, it upsets us so much.
It does. It really does. God.
I never spoke about the thing I liked.
Okay.
So, Star Trek Discovery Season 3 Season 1 and 2 done it to a certain extent as well, but Season 1 done it in a different way. There's always a character that we like who's very Star Trek-y.
Yep.
In Season 1, it was Giorgio, Captain Giorgio, Prime Giorgio. But they killed
in one episode.
Kill her instantly.
Yeah.
Then the
symbolic, really.
Then the character you kinda liked was Lorca, but again there was something off about him, and then it turned out he was evil. And then the character who was truly Star Trek was Captain Pike. He was, despite Season 2 being the worst season I think the show will ever have.
He feels like he wandered in from actual Star Trek into this train wreck.
Pike's in a whole different show. Anson Mount ain't in the Star Trek Discovery Season 2. And then Season 3, the character I thought that we quite liked, though he wasn't as good as Pike, was Admiral Vance.
Mm-hmm. He's okay.
I get not as good as Pike. I don't think they will get as good as Pike. But Admiral Vance was just properly delightful. He respected, he didn't quite trust Discovery at first. Made sense. Why would you? This old antique ship showed up out of nowhere. And
that, according to your records, doesn't even exist.
Which I think is weird, by the way. It's 1,000 years later. Records will be released in 1,000 years that are classified today.
Well, I think they erased the records, right?
I wonder where Section 30. I wonder where Section 31 is in this time frame. Next Season 4. God. Season 4.
Yeah, of course they can't resist.
I know what they're going to do. Section 31 is going to have collapsed sometime in the mid-27th century. and then somebody will have rebuilt it as Section 32. And everyone's going, Section 32. So Section 31 is so outdated. This is Section 32. So I think that, this spore drive, I'm surprised over the course of a millennia, though, no one rediscovered that technology anew.
No, it's silly.
Yeah, anyway, so...
Of course it's silly.
Vance, lovely character. We like Vance. Then there was a point where Wicked Witch of the West, what's her name? Osira. She shows up and suddenly she proposes an alliance between the Emerald Chain and the Federal...
That was the one part in the season where I went to, oh, this is Star Trek. Just that one scene.
Yeah, But it caught me off guard, Kyle, because I thought the Emerald Chain, even just by its name, I thought it was supposed to be some sort of evolution of the Orion Syndicate. I thought it was supposed to kind of be a little bit of a non-official governmental body, space mafia type thing.
Yes. That's what until that episode, that's the impression I got too. And then they're talking about their colonies and their government and their...
Now I think of it as some sort of weird separatist state of the Federation? Like lots of planets joined up and left together? And they wanted to do their own thing?
They joined up with this group that does slave trades and shit like that.
Or that was one policy of it, and then they talk about how she's going to have to stand trial for it and we'll join this alliance together, but you need to stand trial for these policies. And she's like, I think they implied that there was like a governmental body that made these policies. She's not like the Queen or something.
No, she's like, oh, I pulled a lot of strings, but I can get slavery gone by 15 years.
Yeah,
Or something like that, yeah.
So I think that, again, it's Discovery. They had this truth or lie hologram there, which was nice, because that's supposed to be the authoritative, that's the plot device to show authority for, like, she isn't lying.
Yeah.
And that's true, and I thought she was going to do a fucking stupid blank thing like Giorgio and Short Circuit or something.
Forgot about that.
Oh, I didn't forget when you were talking about Cronenberg. I was waiting for you to bring it up. And she never did, and that was fine. But then when she proposes this alliance and has all the terms and conditions and the paperwork and stuff, or the hologram work, I guess, I would have thought they would have maybe done like a let's adjourn for a while. And you can still all do it in one episode. You don't need to make it a two-parter, but you can adjourn for a couple of hours and the story, we can go back to the Nebula or something with Culber and team, But no, he just read through it all with her standing there. And I was like, she could do anything to you right now, and you're sitting here trying to read. You should have adjourned for a while. You should have assembled a couple of people. The Federation president should have maybe had a word today. Like, I know they said that he was...
Yeah, for some reason, he just never... They keep mentioning him like it's a reveal that he's going to be someone important.
I wonder if it was supposed to be a reveal that they couldn't get the actor and they couldn't cut it.
I thought the reveal almost there was going to be that there isn't a Federation president and actually just the Admiral is in charge.
I thought the reveal was going to be the person in the communications station was the president.
Oh, my favourite character, Indian guy.
Who gets a commission. I was quite happy for him. I was genuinely like, yeah. They're like, okay, we can accept these terms are nice and all that, and let's just sit and have a chat. And this was good. This was absolutely wonderful. Then I saw people online complaining that those episodes were slow.
That's why people defend Discovery, because Discovery isn't boring and slow like Star Trek is.
No, exactly. Star Trek Discovery is supposed to be this fast-paced, action-packed, punchy, shooty, fall down a monster's ink elevator shaft exciting.
What's weird is that episode also had really good action in it, I thought, especially for Discovery, when Burnham is crawling through the Jeffries tubes and she gets her shoes pulled off and she jettisons out the trash. Or she sets a fire so that it'll open all the oxygen and stuff like that. And it's like, this is fun action stuff.
This is fine. I don't mind like a 1 or 2 man team kind of going around the ship trying to take it back. That's fine. I really don't mind that. I really did not. I don't know why. I've come, because me and you spoke about it and I kind of lulled on it for the final, but I've come back to it now. Stamets was such a whiny, fucking unprofessional piece of shit in those last 2 episodes.
I don't think that's fair.
I understand the emotions at play there, right? I won't say that, like, it doesn't make sense for him to be upset. He's about to lose everything and he's not happy and he's like, keep me on the ship, we need to go there. And it's like, there's this massive tactical disadvantage here. What are you talking about? Why? Like, I understand the emotions. I really do. I felt like I was in Admiral Vance's shoes before, but obviously the season final hadn't aired yet. he's like, we came to the future for you, we trusted you, blah, blah. It was like, okay, yeah, that doesn't mean that's not relevant to this discussion at all. We've been here for months now, the ship's been refitted. You know, we're in a completely different scenario, and yes, you did choose to come here. That doesn't mean you get a free pass to be safe for the rest of your life. There's massive things at stake here in what you want to throw all to heck because some people are in danger. Like, I get the emotions here, but you're also a Starfleet officer. There must be some sort of test to be a Starfleet officer that says this shit won't get in the way.
I don't know, Stamets has always been weird, though. Stamets has never felt like a Starfleet officer.
To me, this feels like a new level, though.
He's always been like a weird asshole.
Yes, like in season 1 there was this massive character pivot where he was an asshole, then he was friendly, and then occasionally, sometimes he's still a bit of an ass, but it was such a weird pivot. Also, I think he was a civilian scientist that got roped in with a commission because of the spore drive.
Yeah, that's my assumption, is he's always just been a scientist, and he just spends his time talking to mushrooms.
But then, like, after he gets kicked out of the ship, and he's like, I fucking hate you, Burnham, and I'm like, no, Burnham, this is the one good thing you've ever done in this show. And then he goes up to Vance, and he tries to, like, I think he lies to Vance. Like, I actually think he lies to him, but Vance is...
I don't think he lies.
There was something egregious about that scene in my mind where Stamets was talking, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? That's really deceptive or something. Like, something was said, and I was like...
I don't remember that. I remember that he gets dismissed by Vance almost instantly.
He says you're going with the civilian contingent if we need to evacuate or something because you're too important to stay here in the battlefield because you cannot be on Discovery. And I was like, yes, Vance and Burnham agree. I, the audience member, also agree. You're nuts. Like, I get your emotional attachment to wanting to be on that ship. I do get it, but you should at least, maybe after voicing your concern, also accept the decision. Even if you're not happy about it. But his just level of just complete...
I'm not gonna be that as egalitarian about it. I think if your husband and your kids are destined to die horribly of radiation poisoning, you're gonna be pretty high-strung and emotional about it.
Again, when you say it like that, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But something about... And maybe it's this show as a whole. I'm like, most of these people are just awful Starfleet officers. I'm thinking of, like, Wolf 359, where they took the families into battle and, like, they accepted the risk. They don't need to be happy about it after Jennifer Sisko dies and Jake Sisko barely gets out alive after beams falling on him. But Starfleet officers kind of accept this as part of the risk. You don't need to be happy with it after it. Obviously, you mourn the death of someone. But, like, they beamed down to a radiation-infested planet and the ship got taken over, and this could change the balance in the quadrant if you, like... You know, the greater good kind of thing. Something doesn't line up with me about this being okay. I was like, fuck you, Stamets. And after it was okay, and they're all hugging, you know, at Adira and Culber and Paul, they're all having a nice little reunion, and that was happy. I don't hate the guy. I'm glad that he got his family back. Burnham's like standing there.
He's giving Burnham the dirty eye.
And Burnham's smiling, being like, "Oh, that's good. They're all back together." And he looks at her and doesn't express any emotion to her face. And looks away again, like back to his family to be happy. I'm like, no, she was right. Look, she was right to not have you on that ship, and she was able to get them all back. Like this was the plan. She wasn't saying they were going to die. She was saying that this is what has to happen right now. If we can get them back, we will. She wasn't saying that's it, they can die. She was saying, let's do this first. Let's secure you away from Discovery, and then if we can retake Discovery, we'll get you back on and we'll go save the day. No, apparently, this is a nice segue. Anyone can use the spore drive.
No, not anyone. Book can use it because he's an empath.
Yeah, no. Anyone with psychic abilities, I guess.
No, they explain. The guy in the wheelchair says his empath abilities are unique or whatever.
Isn't it like his brother would have those same abilities then, and like everyone on that planet with that like weird prayer thing they can do to make like stuff grow?
Yes,
like, any of them.
That is the implication. Yeah,
I think that's just utter nonsense.
It was. They wrote that in so that they could save Culber and Saru. They
should have found a way to get Stamets on board really quickly. Stamets is suddenly not that important anymore. He's an out-of-date scientist with an attitude problem.
let's pivot before we get back to the action schlock finale. Let's pivot to the burn planet with Saru and the old Kelpian, right? Because I do have some things. I mean, my main question is, how do you feel about that being the cause of the burn?
It's completely ridiculous.
It's weird, and I don't know why. Like, okay, we joked about beforehand that it's the burn. Michael Burnham.
Yes.
It's going to be Michael Burnham caused the burn. And honest to God, I am glad they didn't do that. Because I did not put it past them to do that.
Yes, I'm happy they didn't do it too. I think that this might have not been their original idea, but then they wrote themselves into a corner, maybe?
No, surely not. In Discovery?
Yeah, no.
They didn't know what they were doing?
It's true, Kettle. They don't know what they're doing in that writer's room. A child, for some reason, was able to scream with a harmonic resonance enough on a place surrounded by dilithium that his scream was able to ignite dilithium elsewhere in the universe?
Yes.
What?
Okay, he was born on that planet, so he mutated to adapt. That's why he doesn't have radiation poisoning.
Yes, I understood that. Something had happened to make him immune to radiation poisoning. But like how?
But also that mutation caused his scream to resonate with the frequency of dilithium. It's dumb. It's. I'm not defending it. It's nonsense. It's absolute sci-fi schlock nonsense. But they do try and explain it in the show.
I think this show tries to explain everything it does. The critiques I have is how poorly it does it.
It was the fact that it was a child screaming at his dead mum caused so much strife. It's like, why? Why did you make that the cause?
Do you remember when Quicksilver dies in Age of Ultron and Scarlet Witch screams and destroys all the Ultron robots around her?
Yes, I do.
It was like that.
Except times 1,000.
Times 1,000, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't just on a tiny little bit of rock flying in the sky. It was a universe. Like there was a Jem'Hadar fleet somewhere in the Gamma Quadrant that just got shit on. I've thoughts here, right? So in Discovery Season 2, they're able to see signals ping across the four quadrants of the galaxy with no ease because apparently there's no limit to subspace scanning with instantaneous results, right?
Yeah, also they all go off at once because they travel faster than the speed of light.
They all go off at absolute once. And again, we have no lag time scanning that far at all, despite Voyager making a big deal about communications arrays and whatnot.
But don't they actually, in Season 2, don't they actually look out the window and see them?
Yeah, Star Trek Discovery, guys. But in this universe, in the 32nd century rather, same universe, like we don't have frequent communications with other parts of the galaxy. Like I think we have to jump somewhere quite far away actually to get a black box at some point, but we aren't leaving known space.
I think they do talk about like going across quadrants.
I think so.
At some point, I'm pretty sure. Like we see one of the aliens from. I think this was a background detail I saw on Twitter at some point. We see one of the aliens from Voyager, the Hunter guys who program Voyager into a holodeck.
The Herosian?
Yeah, we see one of them in episode 1, I believe.
I'd never noticed, but I won't argue with you. I know we saw Morn.
We did see Morn.
We saw Cardassian with really poor makeup. I've seen a close-up version of that now, and that was very poor Cardassian makeup.
We didn't see any Klingons that I can remember, actually.
No, we didn't. I think something's happened after Picard's come out where they've realised that people just want TNG Klingons. Because they've spoke about like how if Worf showed up, obviously we would just have Worf look like Worf and not question it. And it's like, what about Martok or Gowron or what about these people? You know, is it just Worf that look like the Klingons that we know and love? Or no, it's just the TOS ones were changing. Or was that always the plan? So I think now they're maybe wondering if they ever reintroduce Klingons, they might just make them look like TNG, and they're not sure yet, so they're just not going to touch Klingons for a while.
I don't like how the Orions look now. They just look like green humans. Which they did in the original series, but I liked how they looked in Enterprise, where there were these big ogre-type looking guys.
Well, that was one fat man, specifically. I thought in Enterprise they looked exactly how they looked in TOS, just with HD cameras.
I thought they looked bigger. I thought they were supposed to be sort of big, hulking kind of figures.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just, these are slavers. These are big people that are part of the industry, but not all of them need to necessarily have that bulk behind them. and they can.
I guess the lady in in Lower Decks isn't big.
Yeah, and there was the ladies on that show as well that were nice and sexy and corruptive.
And they've dropped that whole element.
I know. I think they view that as that was them trying to in universe legitimize like why they're so sexually scantily clad, and now we're in this we're now in this new era of that's really unacceptable and we shouldn't be doing that anymore and everyone needs to be respected, and now we must have the no, that's the thing for all the species. The men aren't corrupted by the women, they're just all sort, because in season 1 there's the Orion Embassy and you see those pale green Orions dancing around and Giorgio goes to have a threesome with them, and
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, and they're very, very faintly painted green. They almost look like humans, but with a green hue on them. And they're supposed to be Orions, I'm sure of it, because why else would they mention it was an Orion Embassy? And now they're just Wicked Witch of the West, dark green people.
Oh yeah, Osira's makeup specifically, I just think looks terrible.
I think they should have just kept.
I don't know what it is. What's wrong with body paint? Because I'm pretty sure she's actually wearing like a prosthetic mask. I'm fairly sure.
I think she might have prosthetic face pieces on, but I think overall she is just painted. But it's a really like viscous paint. Like I don't think
it looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. That's why we keep saying it.
Yeah, like the nose hook and stuff. Maybe the actor looks like that. That'd be horrible to make fun of her. I mean,
no, but I think it is the makeup and the specific like green shiny color they've used.
Yeah, it's poor coloring.
And also the fact that her character is just evil lady who laughs.
She's not as bad as evil Romulan lady from Picard.
She's not. No one ever will be. She's the worst.
There was that scene where she feeds her cousin to the transform, and I remember watching it thinking, "What the hell is this? This is Return of the Jedi Rancor pit. Yeah. Like this is Star Trek here. What is this?"
Well, that's what makes the whole peace treaty thing, when you look at it, really silly. Because they spent the whole season establishing that the Orion Syndicate, the Emerald Chain, is just evil. Like, they're just evil. They have slave markets. They use slave labor. They attack random planets just to draw out the Federation. At one point, they mentioned that they're attacking Calamar.
Yeah,
Sarah's planet.
Yep.
And then they come and make a peace treaty, and that does make it. That's what made it an interesting Star Trek moment, because it's like, will the Federation compromise here just for power? And the answer is they might have if Osira wasn't an idiot.
They might have if people who were responsible for those acts were held accountable for them.
Yeah.
Because they do want...
Which for some reason Osira didn't see as a possibility of happening there, even though she thought of everything else.
Yeah, she was like, I'll just get away with this and everything will be fine. Again, it is interesting because at the end of the show, when everything's done, the Trill have already rejoined. Apparently they just didn't have a problem. I liked how it ended with the Discovery Now's missions to pop delivery of dilithium around to certain...
I love that they have a tiny little offhand line. It's like, oh yeah, we've figured out how to mine that dilithium planet now.
I mean, I don't care. Like, sure, yeah, why wouldn't they? Of course they would. But that's only one planet to feed a universe or galaxy.
It's an entire planet of dilithium, Nathan. It's fine. It'll last a while.
It'll last a while, at scale. And they mentioned Trill's rejoined. I assume the VAR must be open to it because they showed up with a fleet. No mention of Earth, though. I wonder if that's because Season 4 is a plan for Earth, or if they just forgot that Earth wasn't where Federation HQ was.
That's entirely possible.
They just
that
assumed
is
that Earth was
entirely possible.
Like, why wouldn't Earth be in the Federation? That goes without saying, despite how the season started.
I called it. There's no reason for Burnham to call her mum in the episode before if the Navarans aren't going to show up. But the fact that they actually showed up in universe is dumb as hell. Let's imagine this from the Navaran perspective for a second. This nun lady walks into Navaran command or whatever, the Senate, and says, "My daughter just called to tell me that her ship has been taken over by the Orion Syndicate. Do you want to go help?" And the Navarans they had a conversation about this, and they thought, yeah, let's send all of our fleet with our limited dilithium to help these people that we don't fully trust for no reason at all. just because we want to.
This warrior nun who's only been here for a couple of years, Kyle, she is trusted. She is the Spock of this time.
Well, she follows the law, the rule of absolute candor, which means she cannot lie.
Exactly. Though what is there to lie about? My daughter is under attack. Okay.
We don't even see her. We have no confirmation that it was even her mum that did that. They just show up and we're left to assume that that's what happened. They never confirm it. It's so terribly executed. And the Navarres show up and they don't even do anything. There wasn't even a reason for them to be there.
Yeah, I think it was that momentary tension. They weren't there as a marathon presence in the episode. They were there as a small speed boost power up in Mario Kart that just speeds you along for a couple of seconds to get you past that point, and it doesn't matter.
You know how you do it, then this would be stupid. But you say like all of the Federation ships have been disabled. We're done. Like the end of Mass Effect, the first one, where all the ships are being destroyed by the Reaper, and then the human fleet flies in. It's like, whoa, save the day, right? That's how you execute that scene.
Deep Space Nine, with the Klingons show up at the last minute.
Right. You don't have them show up when none of the Federation ships have actually been destroyed, as far as we know.
Where everything's fine and the battle
everything's
is very
fine. The situation is under control.
Yeah, everything's fine here now. How are you? Yeah, it was a big commitment, but again, the show doesn't necessarily... Or, again, it must care somehow. I don't know why I keep saying that it doesn't care. There must be some thought, but it doesn't make sense because these people don't actually understand the material.
No.
I think we have kind of danced around it without actually discussing it. Turbo Lift Realm.
This is the one that shocks me the most, that people are trying to defend it.
Discovery is a TARDIS.
Yes.
Now,
it's always been a TARDIS. Since season 1, it has been this.
So I mentioned this to someone, and they I think they liked my tweet, and they might even responded to it with some sort of agreement, but they said that, it's a complete mess inside that ship now. And I said it's always been like that since they'd done a short trek when they were stuck in a turbolift and you saw the interior. Season 1, I think, done it.
That wasn't even Discovery, that was the Enterprise.
That was the Enterprise. Discovery done a little, season 1 done a little bit where you can see through like a window and you can see like they're on these like monorail rails or something, or maybe they were hanging by two rails.
It looks like a cyberpunk city. It's ridiculous.
But it was always quite limited, but it just looked like they were going on these rails through a dark void.
Yeah.
Now it's 2005 Johnny Depp Willy Wonka Wonkavator. Now, these turbolifts can go long ways and slant ways and up ways and round ways and any way you can think of. And they're not even on rails, they're held in by magnets. All they need, they're like mini shuttlecrafts in the ship that go from certain departure
and they show
points and
these wide environmental shots of this massive void. It looks like a city. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it does look like a city, and there's like these vents in the bottom and stuff that look like the top of skyscrapers, and it reminded me of the city on that ship in Doctor Who with the Mondasian Cybermen in the hospital, and it's like a weird dystopian cityscape, except this is the purple hue over it.
And we're supposed to believe that this is inside Discovery. And people have been showing, there's like a behind the scenes or whatever where they show like a deck by deck breakdown of Discovery.
A schematic of Discovery from season 1.
And on the schematic, it does have a massive 8-deck space called Systems Hub. And I guess we're supposed to believe that's what this is, but then
that still would take you to somewhere like the bridge.
Yeah, why would you build this into the ship? Why wouldn't you just build elevator shafts? Like in Star Trek.
Turbo shafts were fine. It worked. It was. This is why I think that that this is like a small leaning. I'm doing a lot of kind of reaching just based on little crumbs. This is why I feel like Lower Decks is different to the rest of this Star Trek. I told you before, this is Channel called Trek Yards, very nice, very nerdy. All it does is talk about the science of Star Trek, the ships, the tricorders, the uniforms, comm badges, ship schematics, 3D. They recreate 3D schematics of the ships and they open them up and have a look inside them and stuff. And they don't. I don't think that they've had model designers from Star Trek on, people that were responsible for the design of Voyager, the Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, the Defiant. These people have come on, right? Mm-hmm. But they've not really had anyone from New Trek necessarily on in any major capacity, except people that might have had some input design. And then they get like for lower decks, they get some of the main guy on, right? The main guy,
Michael McCann is that his name?
Yeah, and they get really nerdy and talk about the ship design. They actually talk about things about turbo lifts and how does turbo lift get to the secondary hull. And they say, oh, there's a turbo shaft that goes down the struts that lead to the nacelles and stuff. And I'm like, see, this guy gets it. Yeah. This guy, and the turbo lift doesn't. Yes, the struts are slants. The turbo lift has to go slant. That's fine. I don't mind that.
It's so a turbo shaft. Even just going beyond Star Trek, do they understand how a fucking elevator works? It doesn't go into a massive. It goes up a shaft. But it goes up an elevator shaft.
Kyle, this is what I think. This is a sign of when a show's been given too much of a budget and it needs to spend it all, or else because business. If it doesn't use all its budget for next season, it'll get a budget cut because you're proving that you don't need all this money because you're making a season without spending it all. But then they go, oh no, we want all that money in case next season we want to do something but can't because you've cut our budget because we proved last season that we didn't need all that money. So they just start doing shit with the budget to try and justify all that money. And that includes spending however much money it took to pay for the animators and pay for the CGI people to do these massive CG landscapes that are completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
It just, it looks ridiculous. I know Discovery it's big. It's like a warship, right? It's big.
Well, that's because I think JJ Trek 2, including now Trek that isn't JJ Trek but still feels like it, the scaling is way off. People have done scaling comparisons with TOS Enterprise to Discovery Enterprise, even though it's canonically the same ship. It's so much bigger.
Yeah.
There's these weird scaling properties here that people have done, and it's like, I think they do want them. Every ship in Star Trek now has got to be the size of the Vengeance.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand.
Discovery should maybe be Voyager size, maybe even a bit smaller because it's 100 years older. Bigger than Equinox, but
it doesn't. It's not big enough to have a giant void in it.
Yeah, that's not even practical. You could put stuff there. Science labs, quarters for bigger.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That space is if you want to look at that realistically, that space is serving nothing. There's no reason for it to be there.
And Star Trek used to try and ground itself in some kind of reality where there's resources and you've got to make stuff and things have got to make sense because the ship isn't just a wonder machine. No, apparently I think it is.
I mean, there's so many dumb things that happened in that last episode. Like, so Burnham, her goal is to get to the data core, whatever the fuck the data core is. That's where she's going, right?
It's the central processor where the ship does a lot of its commands. I'm fine with
that. Okay, and whatever reason, there's a wall in there that you can be pushed into of cubes, of floating cubes. Yeah. I guess that is the data core. Is that what that is?
I thought the data core was that main computer console they're dancing around and jumping over.
Okay, so anyway, so she puts out like a message on the comms, right? And it's like a coded message to Tilly, but somehow Tilly interprets as we have to blow up one of the nacelles, right? Or what, something?
No, I think that's separate from that. I think Tilly and that devised that plan themselves. When Michael Burnham gets to the computer core, she says, like, beam all the regulators off the ship and tell all the remaining crew members to report to the bridge and blah, blah, blah.
Hang on, that's what I was going to say. So they've established before that the Emerald Chain, they've erased all of the computer stuff and they've replaced it with their own interface.
Yes.
So she gets to the data core and she says full system reboot, and I'm thinking, how would that even work if they've replaced all of the stuff? But it still recognises her command code. It still just lets her do that. And I don't understand. Why?
Right, so I get it. And I think old Star Trek's done this or something similar to it before. So I'm not going to give it a hard time, though I can't actually name anything in this specific moment. But it's like, reset the ship to factory settings with the last default interface and stuff that was put in, and that would include the crew and the crew rosters and stuff, so you recognise me like it's day one of the ship and here's my command codes, because at that point I was first officer. Not that it makes a difference, because what she's trying to do I think commanders could probably do as well, not just first officers. But she'd be like, okay, here I am, factory reset, nothing's ever happened, this is day one of the ship in terms of the software's mindset. Do X, Y, and Z, and it just listens, because if you delete the software that's on board, it's got to replace it with something, so it's got to replace it with the stock one. And I know you're saying it replaced. Hand-wavy bullshit, right? There's got to be some I believe in my own self-internal logic that there's got to be some sort of stock data that when you remove what's been put on, that would be under it still. So when people race internet history, but people talk about how, you know, the police could somehow find a way to get it back if they needed it for police investigation or some such. Like, you can get it back, it's fine. I'm not going to give it a hard time.
I will give a hard time to the terrible action one-liners in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, when Michael Burnham shoots her in the head, and it's like, well, I don't like you, or whatever it was terrible.
Also,
I know it was a callback to, like, when they were on the bridge, I guess.
Didn't she stun everyone? Why did she kill her?
Because she's evil, Nathan.
But she stunned all the other regulators that were in the room.
Yeah, she stunned them and then she beamed them off the ship into space.
I thought she sent them back to their ship.
Which they then blew up.
Oh, fair. You know, I have a question, right? Beam all regulators off the ship. Why was Mr. Wheelchair Scientist Man...
I had exactly that same issue, I guess. Why
I
would the computer know? We know that he's changed his ways, but the computer doesn't know that.
The computer would just see him as alien body on the ship who's got stuff... Like, he's one of the people. He's one of the bad ones.
How does the ship know what a regulator is?
It would just be like people that aren't on the crew roster getting the fuck off the ship. She's using regulators because she knows their official name. The computer doesn't necessarily be that smart, but this computer would be smart enough to infer alien bodies that aren't pre-approved, get them off. Now that would be yikesy if there was someone who wasn't supposed to be there but we liked on the ship, but no one was. Book maybe.
That's true, yeah. Didn't Book used to work for the Emerald Chain?
Regulators are regulators, Kyle. I was fine with it, but except for Mr. Scientist Man not being beamed out into space, I feel like he should have been beamed out into space because we know he's nice. The computer doesn't. This show just expects the audience to do so much mental arithmetic here.
Also, it's the same as the Turbo when they're dropping the warp core and it goes down this huge drop and it starts banging against the walls. And like, you remember when they expelled the warp core in Voyager?
It just shot right out.
It just shot right out. There wasn't this massive drop.
Right. Well, so here's the thing. I don't have a problem with that. It kind of bouncing off the walls. I thought, that's just them trying to be extra realistic because it probably would.
No, when it's space. It's a vacuum. It would fall straight down.
But presumably there's air pressure being sucked out or blown out with it. Like, it would knock it around a little bit. So the warp core is quite, even in the Voyager, warp core is quite tall. It's quite a tall lad. And when we see it being ejected in Voyager, it's a full exterior shot, so we see it coming out for quite a bit. Mm-hmm. In this, we're seeing it. We're with the warp core at the top of the warp core. We're plummeting down with it, and because we're at the top and it's quite long, we've got to wait for it to shoot out because we're watching it descend.
In Voyager, it kind of infers that the warp core is basically the length of the ship. It's a massive piece of technology, which makes sense because it powers the engines.
Yeah, I think it's not. I think I've watched Trek Yard's descriptions of the ship and cutouts and stuff. It's a few decks big. I don't know if it's this because there's 15 decks on Voyager and technically it's in the secondary hull. Maybe it's the size of the secondary hull because obviously it's not the size up to the bridge because it's got to be vertical.
Obviously.
But yeah, so it's I didn't mind it taking a while to fall out because maybe the bottom of it was already out, but we're at the top watching the top of it come out. You know, it's fine. It's fine, Kyle. It's absolutely fine.
The friggin' disconnected warp nacelles, which that's only there because they think it looks cool. They didn't think that through in any way.
No, they absolutely didn't. They just think that's a nice aesthetic. There's no actual purpose for it. And then so Owo, what's her name? Oyo?
Awokasho.
I feel like they shorten it though.
They call her Owo, yeah.
Owo, yeah. So she takes a bomb up to... I thought she was doing this to disable warp speed, but apparently not.
No, she did. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, because they get drawn into the shuttle bay of the Emerald Chain ship, don't they? And, you know, it disrupts the nacelle, but I thought it was actually going to destroy the nacelle, because later on...
I thought they were trying to, like, decouple it or something, right? Yeah, so it would kind of fall away.
Later on, we see that, except I thought it was a nice shot of Discovery kind of falling out of warp with the nacelle, kind of, you could see the magnetic field fluctuating around it. Yeah. And the nacelle was holding on. I thought it should have just decoupled outright or exploded. That would have been more interesting. Yeah. It would have been more interesting if it exploded and the ship violently falls out of warp speed or something. But no, it's fine. It was just a disruption that you were doing, because later on, even after the warp core is ejected, and we see it later on before it gets the warp core back, the ship looks fine. They couldn't be arsed to actually get rid of that nacelle from an.
You remember in Enterprise when they've been in the Expanse for a while?
The ship's just
the ship's absolutely fucked up. It's missing a nacelle. All that stuff.
Or it's burnt out, yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Or Year of Hell.
Yep, same deal. They just can't be bothered making it look damaged. Discovery always looks flawless.
Which is annoying. You know, I've had a while to sit on it, and I don't have a problem with an in-universe reason for the detached nacelles. I don't like the detached nacelles, Kel.
No, I think they look silly.
I wasn't sure, because I went in a big tirade in the earlier seasons about how it contradicts canon and stuff. This doesn't contradict canon. We've never been here before. That's fine. It doesn't
make any sense. How are they getting power from the warp core to detach nacelles?
Kyle, it's a wireless charger, right? It's wireless. It's the future. It's what's the new thing the iPhone 12 does? I've got an iPhone 12 here, but I don't. It's MagLock, MagSafe. The magnets on the back that let you wirelessly charge, but you can also pick up the wireless charger with the phone and it'll keep charging. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what the nacelles are. Okay, it's the future. Though
How is that more efficient than just having a direct connection?
Instead of Star Trek predicting the future, Kyle, it's now just copying the future. It's not more efficient, but it's just nicer. Look, it's a visual, Kyle. It's a visual. It's like wireless internet versus Ethernet. You know, Ethernet's more reliable, but wireless is more convenient.
They do. They have one line where they try and justify. They say it's for increased maneuverability.
It's like Voyager. Remember when Voyager went to warp, the nacelles went up?
It's not like that at all, though. That was to create a sleeker warp bubble.
Yeah, no,
which is a thing that's well established in Star Trek.
Yes, I know, I get it. But it was to be more environmentally friendly and whatnot.
Yeah.
But there was reasons for the articulation. What I mean is, like, this is their reasons for the detached nacelles.
I hate the bridge crew. Can I just say that? I think they're dumb and pointless characters, all of them.
Hate the bridge crew. Okay, doke. Go on.
For 3 seasons now, they've been pretending that the bridge crew are characters. From a character perspective, could you tell me any of them apart? They're all the same character. They're optimistic Starfleet people.
They're a diverse crew of nothing.
I remember Awokosho's name because her name is fun to say. The rest of them, I have no clue what their names are.
Detmer.
Because their names don't matter.
Detmer, Kyle,
she's the robot head lady, and I think they're trying to make her and Awokosho a thing.
No, I see people on Twitter talking about that. I just thought they were friends.
I think it's hard to tell, but I think they're trying to make it a thing. Like, she's the first one. She asks if they're okay, and all this. I think they're trying something there. I could be wrong, but I think they're trying something there.
This show, to me, I don't think it would care if it wanted to do it. It would just do it, and hell's be damned. You know, you can't have any friendships anymore.
They're telling this long, dramatic love story between these two pointless characters, Nathan.
It's weird. By like season 3 on the Enterprise, you knew the bridge crew. Like, you never knew who the helmsman was. That always switched out every week. But you knew the tactical first officer, counselor, captain, science officer.
Yeah.
You know, chief engineer would occasionally come up. Now, on the Discovery bridge, you know Ensign Tilly.
Yeah.
You know Captain Saru. You know Michael Burnham. That's it. Occasionally Stamets comes to the bridge, like Geordi LaForge sometimes came to the bridge, but he doesn't count. You know,
all of these other characters would, in any other Star Trek show, be just replaceable extras, basically.
Yeah, no, exactly. They are. You right now we do not know tactical. We know that it's the same actor that sits there and he has that one name, but we've never had a story with him.
Hang on, is the tactical guy the black guy or the Asian guy? I don't know. It's one of them. One of them is tactical and one of them is communications.
Asian's tactical. The black guy's comms.
Okay.
But like, we don't know the comms guy, we don't know the tactical guy, we don't know the operations lady. I think that's Detmer's the pilot. Operations is Ovo. We should know these people, or at least we should know a couple more of them. I feel like we should definitely know tactical and maybe comms. But no, they just sit there.
Detmer was on the Shenjo in the first episode, and they just never made her a character. It's so bizarre.
Wild. That's wild to me. Like, why was Detmer there? Because she was there to be a ghostly reminder of Burnham. Whenever Burnham looks at Detmer, she should be infinitely guilty for that war.
Yeah, for her robot eye, which was her fault. Exactly. And they just never explored that ever. We've got
the blonde lady. We've got the blonde lieutenant lady.
She has brown hair now.
No, right. So that's a different person.
Are you serious?
Yes. Right. Okay. So I saw this on Twitter as well. So in the final episode, when they're running through the corridors going to retake the bridge, right? I've just moved close to my microphone if the audio suddenly picks up there. In the final, when they're going to retake the bridge and they're walking through the corridors before life support gets turned off, there's this new woman there for some reason with dark hair. Do you remember?
I thought that was just the blonde lady with hair dye. Right.
No. So she is the person. You know the alien that's usually on the bridge with the weird tardigrade head.
Yeah, the bug head guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's her. Oh no! See, either that's her or the person who usually is that person wasn't available for filming, so they brought this person in. It's one of the either this is her or the person that usually does that wasn't available, and this person didn't have the head mold or whatever, so they just had to
my guess on that was they thought the bug head looked stupid for those actual action scenes, so they just got rid of that guy and brought in, I guess, just a random lady.
Yeah. But this is a new person. This brown-haired lady's a new lieutenant. The blonde-haired one, I think, is also there or was not there.
She wasn't there. That's why I thought it was her.
No, this is a different
haircut.
This is a different person.
It's just proving my point. The bridge crew are pointless characters. They're completely interchangeable. The fact that the show keeps treating them like they're actual characters without actually making them characters is ridiculous.
Tig Notaro is the chief engineer, but only shows up a couple of times a season.
And she does nothing. She's a pointless waste of character who doesn't do anything for the show. She just shows up sometimes. Like, literally, she just shows up sometimes.
Jet Reno and Tig Notaro both sound like fake Star Trek names. But yeah, her name is Jet Reno in the show. Yeah, completely pointless, just shows up every now and again. Commander Stamets is chief science officer, I think, even though Commander Burnham is the chief science officer.
No, he's just in charge of the spore drive.
The spore, that's all he does, yeah. Sorry, correct myself. And then Culber's the chief medical officer, but there are other doctors on board as well.
There's also the other doctor lady who took over when Culber died, and she's also just around now.
They need to do more briefings. They need to do more, like we got a transmission through from Starfleet, let's sit in the briefing room and discuss it. Like in Voyager or
like
TNG.
In Star Trek, yeah.
Yeah, like, because it's always the department heads that go there, and then if all the department heads went there, then we would know who the department heads are. Who's the head of tactical? Okay, he shows up. Who's the comms person? You know, who are the people? You know, who the department heads? Because if tactical gunman that we don't know, if he shows up, he's the head of security on the Discovery, and he is people working under him.
He can fill that Worf role of saying, "I think we should shoot them." You know,
yeah, no, exactly.
Give him a character.
Exactly, precisely. But like, then we would know who the department heads are. Who's in charge of security on this ship? Is it just Burnham? Does she do everything?
I guess it's a Woka show. If she's tactical,
I thought she was operations.
Sometimes that's the same as security.
I guess. Some of these roles were nebulous. Like the most we got was them all sitting down for dinner, and then Detmer freaked out over blood.
Yeah, because she was traumatized by going to the future. This was a whole, and then they watched like Charlie Chaplin or something, or like an old silent film.
Yes, they did. They certainly did.
Because that was my favourite, and it never comes up again, where the computer changes voice while talking to Saru, and he doesn't care at all. He just accepts it.
They're trying to, like, people, like, Star Trek was always able to give, like, the hero ship a character. You know, this is Voyager, this is the ship that's, like, there was literally no intelligence in Voyager. It was just an inanimate object, but
yeah, but the crew kind of characterised her. Well, they called her a she and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, well, everyone does that, right? And the Enterprise, when it crashes in Generation, it's like, I always thought I get excited. They treat the Defiant, she was a fine ship and all that, and it blows up at the end of the Dominion War. They always personify these ships, right? And that's fine, but there isn't actually a character in there. With the sphere data, with the sphere data in season 2, they're really trying to make Discovery a living thing. I think that's their thing. I think maybe, I don't even know if maybe we've missed it, like, as an audience, and there are certain audience members that do click onto this, but it was so not done well that we've just looked over it. But I think they really want Discovery to be seen as like a sentient thing. Like, eventually Discovery's going to get a name in the credits. Like,
well, there is that
Discovery's
one short
alive.
Trek, right? There's that one short Trek where the Discovery is an AI and the guy falls in love with it.
Yes, he fell in love with the sphere data, now we know. Why is the sphere data still in this show?
I don't know. The sphere data, when it hides itself in the robots, and then it pulls the Waukesha away so she can live, and she says thank you to the dead robot.
And then she helps, Jet Reno helps repair it. I really genuinely think that's why the sphere data is still here, to be the ship. The ship's alive, Kyle. The ship's a living, breathing thing. The ship isn't just an inanimate hunk of space technology.
Okay, well, if that's their intention, they're doing it terribly.
No, you're right, they're doing it awfully, but I think that's their goal, that's their angle.
Like, if that's their goal, then when the Emerald Chain is showing up, the doors should be shutting on them, and, like, the elevator should be shooting them all over the place, and you should show that the ship is kind of fighting back against them.
Well, no, the sphere data transferred itself into a little robot protocol.
It transferred itself into 3 robots, yeah. I see when they're going through and they're like dual-wielding phasers, I'm thinking, you don't dual-wield phasers. Come on, this is not a schlocky action thing.
To be fair, I think that Enterprise done it as well. I don't mind that, but that's because the phasers look like guns, whereas in TNG you can dual-wield the phasers because they just look like TV remotes.
I miss the TV remotes so much.
I miss TV remotes so much as well. Oh god, I miss them.
They're so Star Trek-y.
They're so nerdy.
Like the Starfleet is not military, so it doesn't have guns. Phasers are not guns. Phasers they're more like tasers that you can sometimes set to kill people, but they almost never do unless they have to.
Yeah, like you're increasing phaser settings. Yeah, like set phasers to stun was the thing. There's a reason that's a saying. You know, it's where do you think season 4 of this show's going to go, Kyle? I think we're pretty much done talking about season 4.
This is the interest. I had a weird feeling when they were doing that finale montage. Like, the way it's executed, I almost thought, like, they thought this might be the end of the show. Did you get that impression?
Yes, though they announced before when the show was broadcasting, but I guess when they filmed it and they were editing it, they never knew that. But,
yeah, but the way it's executed, like, Saru's gone, Michael Burnham's the captain, they're flying off.
They're setting in awful uniforms that they'll never have to actually shoot.
And even the fact that it ends with a quote from
Gene Roddenberry.
I was like, this feels like the end of a show. Which obviously it's not, because they're doing season 4.
There's a lot of arsehole, worthless YouTubers out there that always talk about how Discovery's been cancelled and CBS hate it and all that.
Yes.
And obviously, it's proven not true time and time again because they keep renewing it. But when stuff like this happens, I think all it does is give credence to those people. Like, maybe they do have some semi-legitimate source who isn't a nice person, but there was a rumour somewhere behind the scenes that maybe this show was going to end, and it just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a show like Gotham or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of kept holding on.
Yeah, there's multiple season finales in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where it's like the show could end here and it would be fine.
Yeah.
It felt like one of those moments.
Exactly.
We never got to talk about the themes, but I'll save that. I'm making a video, or I'm going to try anyway.
Kyle's making a video.
Because that quote at the end, it's I took a screenshot of it because I thought it was funny. Because, okay, when you end a season with a quote, that quote is supposed to be like a statement of intent, basically. Like, this is what the show meant, right?
Yes.
So I have it here, and in a very real sense, we are all aliens on a strange planet. We spend most of our lives reaching out and trying to communicate. If during our whole lifetime we could reach out and really communicate with just 2 people, we are indeed very fortunate. What does that mean in relation to Discovery Season 3?
Well, it means absolutely nothing. It's
nothing at all. It's not relevant in any way to the season.
So I gave a brief comment review on a Facebook page of what I thought of this season. So I said Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is probably the best season this show has had. However, that's not high praise, unfortunately. Season 2 is laughable and nonsensical, and Season 1 is uneven at best. I enjoyed the 2 episodes leading up to this season final, which I was happy about because I don't necessarily think that this season has been great. This season, however, just fell flat on its face for me. It was especially egregious when it tries to wrap up a Star Trek message in the last 5 minutes, which was nice, but it flew completely in the face of what had happened over the previous hours of television that everybody had watched. It was almost as if it was trying to leave a nice taste in the viewer's mouth, fooling the viewer into believing what they had just watched resembled in any way Star Trek outside of the use of an IP.
Yes, and to be fair, both Season 1 and 2 also end with a speech, a Star Trek speech.
Yes, Season 1 especially. I actually don't remember Season 2 ending like that.
I think it does. I think Pike does a speech at the end of Season 2. I could be wrong. I'll have to go rewatch it. Season 1 definitely, when they were talking about peace and all this.
Yes.
Just to make it sound like it had a message. And that's why I want to make a video, because it just doesn't. It's just nonsense platitudes that they stick on at the end to make it sound like it meant something.
Yeah, well, Season 1 you could argue like, oh, that was the cost of war, and we've realised that this isn't good, and this season was an experiment in showing how war isn't good. And that's what we've learned. That's the speech at the end of Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3 is bollocks.
Yeah.
Something about being lost in a new world, which is like, they came to a new century, I guess, and were completely out of touch.
Well, yeah, that quote from Gene Roddenberry, which, by the way, I had a quick look. I can't find a source for that anywhere. It could have just been something he said behind the scenes at some point.
He said it to some young stagehand in 1990 before he died, and that guy now is older and he passed it on.
Yeah, it's not one of the famous Gene Roddenberry quotes that you can find on those websites.
Could you imagine if there's like a legal loophole that allows them to just make up Gene Roddenberry bullshit? Like they can do that.
Put it past them. But even still, that quote is about like how like connecting to people is good, and you should try and like be friends with people. Basically, being friends is good. That's basically the moral of that quote.
Yes.
But that's not that's not the ending we get in Season 3 of Discovery. The best line in that conclusion is when Burnham it just says, after Osira died, the Emerald Chain collapsed. It collapsed after the finale just because that one lady died, even though in the episode before they'd established it's this wide-spanning government and she's just a part of that.
Yes.
But it's gone now. The Emerald Chain is gone now.
She in the intervening moment, she became an Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, she did. It's nonsense. It's all of the whole peace negotiations thing. If they had continued after Osira died, that would have been like good and Star Trek-y, because the Emerald Chain, as established there, is a government.
We are continuing discussions with the Emerald Chain, and things are looking up. But we'll
exactly
see.
Right.
Yes.
But no, they're just evil, and they have to all die now. And like, I know they're slavers, but apparently they were voting against slavery, so you know.
Yeah, it was the United States. You know, these people aren't all worthless. They're stuck in this horrible system, and they're trying to get out of it, and we should help them get out of it. And no, but now they're all dead.
Yeah, it's all collapsed now.
It's now the Emerald.
Vulcans.
Emerald
The
Chain
Vulcans
space
are back.
is now Mad Max.
The trailer back. We're good now.
Wait, we don't know where the Vulcans back are. They? Are the Navarans back? I thought they were just.
They said they were in talks.
They were in
so
talks.
they're probably going to be back
the
by the
Trill
next season.
are back.
Yeah.
That means the Romulans are part of the Federation.
Yeah.
Wow. The Emerald Chain is now Mad Max territory because they're not part of the Federation, and now the government's falling apart. That's a power vacuum and a half. Klingons. That's it. Now what? Earth season 4.
Season 4, there's going to be some new big mystery to solve. There always is. That's the show.
I want season 4 to... Because, you know what? You know what's nice, Kyle? You know what they've done for the first time?
What?
They didn't end it on a fucking cliffhanger.
It's true.
It didn't end on a... Like...
It ended with Discovery. It's marching off to new adventures.
Yes, that means, like, time can pass and we can start again, and who knows what characters have developed off screen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's fine. I'm very much in favour of giving it a season time to breathe so that they can make up shit that's transpired between seasons.
Right. they can come back next season and say the Klingons are in contact for peace negotiations or some shit like that.
Yes, but
Time has passed.
Yeah, when seconds pass and then you pretend that this crew and ship have known each other for years and it's a big emotional thing in season 2, you're like, no, you've known each other for 5 seconds.
Yes, like, or even the ridiculousness in season 2 where the Klingons have all grown out their hair and politics have advanced like a whole, like, years have passed.
Yes,
even though it's supposed to be like a week later.
Yes, exactly. Because again, they've lost perspective between real-time filming and screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But here, however, we've ended definitive, like, the start. I know it's not, we're getting to season 4 and Star Trek, I'll always watch it. You know, time has passed and now they can make up bullshit, which I'm fine with.
Yeah. The burn has happened again. There has to be some underlying problem that they need to fix. That Michael Burnham needs to go on a big old journey to learn and fix. Because that's what Discovery is.
I have a brief question for you.
Go, shoot.
Did you think the Guardian of Forever was going to be Q?
I did. I really did.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna transform from that old man into John Delancey. I thought they couldn't could
I thought they could, because it could have just been John Delancey the whole time, but because they don't know the significance of who John Delancey is. They're from ancient times in that perspective, you know. He could have shown up in a TNG uniform being like, oh, and I just left Picard on the Enterprise D or something, pat himself down, snap his fingers, something like that, you know. They can even make it a dramatic reveal by having the camera pan up from the bottom of a tree and he steps out from behind it in a fancy uniform. You go, oh my god, but no.
They resisted.
They resisted. You know what? I would have preferred it. I actually thought the Guardian Forever was more egregious. I was like, what? Can it just move around planets now?
I guess that's from a TOS episode. It's the one where Kirk falls in love with a suffragette.
Yeah, no, I know what the Guardian of Forever is. It's my favourite episode of TOS ever. The City on the Edge of Forever. Great episode. But I was never under the impression that portal could just move around planets.
Yeah, it's weird nonsense to get Giorgio off the show, which I am fine with because I don't want her on the show. What next? WandaVision? Will we do a video on WandaVision?
We'll do one on WandaVision. I've thoughts on this Doctor Who New Year's episode.
I don't have a good way to watch Doctor Who, I'm sorry.
Eventually, BBC America or something? I don't know.
We'll see. It's going to be a year of reviews, probably.
It's going to be a year of reviews, ladies and gentlemen, because we have nothing else to do.